Welcome to the week 1 introductory video. Want to be clear up front, my purpose of these videos is to be really short, really sweet, not focus on things you already know as being part of this program for the past year, some of you over a year, but things that are going to help give some important insight or clarification to the more complex problems that you'll see that week. Okay, so this week, as you know, and like I said in the email, we have our learning outcomes, there's readings for you to do, there's discussion prompts. This week you have 2, and it's going to follow the normal Thursday reflection, Sunday reply to 2 peers, and you have an assignment. You are the veterans in this program. You can read through these, but what I want to focus on right away, since we haven't done anything yet, is just to demystify a little bit about what you are going to be doing in 580 and 605. Now, I can't talk about it all in this video. A lot of it's going to be revealed as we move through the program. But what I will say is the project is much different. First off, you are not doing a research project or an action research project. You are not collecting formal data on subjects. And you are also not working in a group. You are going to be doing an individual exploratory research project. Okay, and before we begin, I think 2 things that you really need to leverage in the next 2 classes are the online writing studio and the APA resources. And speaking of APA resources, probably the best resource to keep you grounded in the class can be found here. Under Capstone Resources, you have the Exploratory Capstone Project Writing Template and the Exploratory Capstone Project Rubric. Basically, these 2 things with the rubric tell you what you're going to do in the next 2 courses. You follow it perfectly and you'll be fine. And this is where you are going to do it. So I love the idea of doing all of my work in this class with respect to the project in the template. There's a document form, but if you click this, you get a Google document. And what I mean by a template is this is literally at the conclusion of 605 where you are going to be doing all of your work on your final project. Okay, it gives you the title page. Everything here is in APA 6th edition. We got the signature page, acknowledgments, and the abstract. And here we go right into the table of contents. Okay, you're going to be doing a 4-chapter exploratory research project. Chapter 1 is called the problem. Chapter 2 is called the review of the relevant literature. Chapter 3 is your methods, and Chapter 4 are your findings. Now, on first glance, this looks like an experimental research project where you are going to be gathering data. But when you look into the rubric, you will notice there is a lot of differences. And that really is going to be highlighted here in the subjectivity statement. So to understand those differences and to understand what you're really going to be doing in this course, click here on the capstone rubric. I would encourage you to print out a copy, have one on you. If you ever feel confused as to what we're doing in this course, refer to the rubric. This is how I'm going to be grading and helping you facilitate the iteration of this project. So before we go through this, and again, I'm just going to do a quick overview. I encourage you to read it in fine detail as well. And the way I want you to think of an exploratory research project is this. Let's say you have decided that you are going to buy a new car. Okay, so an actual experimental research project would be one in which you go out and you test drive all the different vehicles, collect data on those, and then make a decision based on the kind of car you're going to drive. In that case, the subjects, the cars, are directly involved in that. You're collecting direct data on how well that car performs. Another one could involve you researching and reading all the literature on the best cars, talking with people, observing other people, interviewing people perhaps, gathering subjective data, and then making a recommendation on which car to buy. So in one, you're directly testing, and in the other, you're observing a phenomena, observing the world around you, through the lens of the literature and through the lens of your subjective observations. And that's really what an exploratory capstone research project is. You are going to think about something you are really passionate about, okay? And you're going to identify something that's missing in that field, okay? Something that, a gap in what you observe within that area that you are very, very passionate about. For example, I am very, very passionate about sparking student curiosity, but there's not a lot of research on sparking student curiosity in the math classroom. So the purpose of this exploratory research project could be for me to explore ways that curiosity can be sparked in students in the math classroom. So that's what you're really going to be identifying chapter 1. What are you passionate about? Where is there a problem in that area? And what questions can you ask about that? And that's really what happens here in the purpose of the study. Okay. Chapter 2 is normal as well. So far 1 and 2 are the same as you would normally do. You're then going to look at those questions you're asking, that content area, and you are going to intensely review the literature out there, the research literature. And that's really going to be leveraged by your library orientation. This is things you've done before. You're going to look out and see who has addressed similar problems, who has addressed that exact problem, what literature further provides evidence for this actually being a problem, and really convince us based on things that have already been done that this problem exists. So chapter 2 is leveraging the literature to really carve out that space for the problem. Chapter 3 is where it really changes. Chapter 3 and chapter 4. So when you describe what you are going to do in chapter 3, you would then say, well, I am going to come up with some examples of how to spark student curiosity in the math classroom, and I'm going to find a math classroom, and I'm going to have all the students sign a IRB release form, and I'm going to do a study, an intervention on them, and based on those results from that, I'm going to draw some conclusions, some deductive conclusions about this phenomenon. Okay, you're not going to do that. What you're going to do is look at your literature review, do a critical reflective analysis on what has already worked. You are then going to do some reflecting on what's worked in your past. You're going to talk to people who might be doing similar things, and you're going to try and draw a picture of how you can address that phenomena to give advice based on what is there in the literature and based on what is there in your anecdotal reflections about the content area. It's the idea of researching the best card of I, gathering interview information, reading up, and then presenting the best cards of I versus actually testing them. That's really, really what's happening here. And if you read this part here, you're going to discuss how you're going to cite literature that supports a method of reflective practice as a way to understand a problem phenomenon. So you're going to leverage the literature as a tool for your own personal reflection. And here you're going to discuss how your reflective journal and other data collection tools and the current literature are used to help answer the questions. So you're going to ask some questions. You're going to reflect on the literature and how the literature would address those questions. You're going to reflect on your journal and anecdotal observations and how those things help inform what the literature already says. And you're then going to present a conclusion about that. Again, the subtle difference here is that you are not conducting your own research study. You are critically reflecting on research studies that have already been conducted and anecdotal observations you have about the phenomena in the world. So I want to emphasize this is a much, much easier project than we've done before. And please do a deep read of this rubric. Have a great first week, and I hope the template and the rubric have helped ground you a little bit in what you're going to do. Make a copy of that template, start filling it out.